Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and anybody else who is joining us today. I am Ollie, and I'm here to do the Sheffield United way match reaction for a frustrating, annoying, ultimately fairly forgettable 1-1 draw with Birmingham City. Covering off the first bit, so of course Nick is not able to be doing this today, hence why I've stepped in. So anybody who's missing him, don't worry, he will be back for our predictions video tomorrow, the preview on Monday, and for the match reaction next week. He's just taking the evening off today. I think he's celebrating his birthday and the birthday of one of his friends. So first off, let me get this out there. It was just nice to be at Bramall Lane today. I thought, we had the entire of September without a single home game for Sheffield United, and that just builds up a bit of annoyance, a bit of frustration. So it was nice to be at the game, nice to be just back watching United at home. We are still top of the league, so you've got to look at it under that positive aspect. We've done well, we've started fantastically, and I really was hoping we'd kick on with that today, and that having us all there at Bramall Lane was just going to be setting us up for a nice afternoon. And then we got into the game, and ultimately it's a really frustrating point. It was really one of those games where you were just waiting for United to really kick up into second gear, and we didn't quite get there today. We've had a lot of injuries, and that's going to impact on our performances. And I do want to spend some time just being really annoyed at some of their time wasting. Now, we're going to see a lot worse than this. There are teams who are going to come, they're going to do it from the first minute. They're going to be time wasting non-stop. It's going to be every free kick, every corner, every goal kick. And they weren't that bad today. But particularly towards the end, their players just going down with cramp, just trying to kill the game, just trying to stop any of our momentum. It is so annoying and frustrating as a fan. There was one moment right at the end. We've had a fantastic break. We've charged forward, and then we've won a corner. We've got momentum. Everybody's ready to go. And they've just had a player just lay down in the middle of the park, waiting for the trainers to come on. And it's fine. I understand. I know why they do it, but it's just one of them things that really, really winds me up. I can see Blade Ramble in the in the comments saying that I'm raging, and I am. I don't know why I let it get to me so much. I should be used to it, but I'm not, and it really got on my nerves. But let's get into covering a little bit of the game. So first of all, team selection. I was very interested in what we were going to do today. Me and Nick talked about it yesterday on the match preview, and we weren't sure whether we were going to have to go 4 at the back, whether Kyron Gordon was going to have to come in to make us sort of keep that consistent 3. So to see Khadra come in, I think I and everybody else kind of thought it was going to be 4-3-3. I know that's what all the chat I was having on walking in. I was like 4-3-3. Interesting change. We'll see how it works. So to see him line up and keep Khadra playing left wing back was interesting. And I think it was a little bit of a key part of the game today. So we didn't have many options, and I do respect that Hecky wanted us to be attacking. He wanted us to be on the front foot. He thought that Khadra was the right man to be able to drive us forward coming down that wing. But I just don't think it quite worked. I thought we were a bit unbalanced. I think Khadra really wants to cut inside and be using that right foot. And it just meant that we were struggling a little bit positionally to really create any momentum coming down the left. But defensively as well, it meant that Norrington Davis, just on 1 or 2 occasions in the second half, got a little bit overrun. There was a man coming in behind, I think it was Graham, and it just meant that Khadra was being asked to do something that he's just not used to. Maybe he's not quite ready to do that. He's not going to have loads of time training it. We're not going to have been bringing him in to play that position. But yeah, I'm just not sure it fully worked today. So I'm going to be really interested to see what we do Tuesday night. How do we cater to that change? Are we going to keep the same? Are we going to continue with Khadra? I just don't know. I personally think we need a little bit of a change from that, because I just don't think it worked. I think it slowed us down. I think it just left us a little bit vulnerable on the left. The other change from Preston, which was our last game, which feels ages ago, was Tommy Doyle coming into the side. He came in for Ryan Brewster. I think that was the right decision. If we're going attacking with our wing backs, if we're going to have somebody who's maybe not got that same defensive cover, makes sense to just pack that midfield, be a little bit stronger, and try and just get that partnership back together with him and Norwood. But let's get into the game. Let's get into the first half and what actually happened. So I thought United were quite sluggish. It really felt to me as though we were struggling to get going. I thought we were quite slow. I thought that we were controlling the game, but we just couldn't get our key players into it. I thought Njai was quite quiet first half. I thought McBurney was quiet first half. I thought we were really struggling to get any momentum. We had some good moments. So there was one very early on where Kadra had managed to get down the wing. He was trying to whip in across, and their defenders made a right hash of it, headed it back towards his own goal. I'm sat over on the family stand, and from my angle, I was like, oh my God, that's going in. It wasn't. It did just go out for a corner, but it was at least a sign of intent. We did start to try and build a little bit more. You know, McBurney's had a header on target. That was our first one. I think it was from a corner about 15 minutes in. But again, it's all slow. It was all trying to funnel it to the wings, trying to funnel it back. We were trying to get some joy with Baldock going down the right, but we've seen it time and again. His final ball is never quite there. He's never creating chances from those whips. So we really need to see what we can do and really need to try and bring it forward and see what we can do. Now, I just seen Gazza's comment pop up there, and I definitely think he's right. It's not, I don't want to come across as though I'm saying we were rubbish today or this is horrific. That's not the case at all. It was just a really frustrating kind of game to watch. I thought particularly that first half summed it up because we were slow getting going and really thought it was difficult to get into the game. I don't think really we created many good chances. I think, like I say, we had the shot on target from McBurney, header off a corner. Later on, Njai got into a fairly decent position just outside the box. He'd done really well. We had some nice play down the left. He cut inside, beat his man, but could only just sort of curl it wide of the far post. And that was really as good as it got. Doyle hit the bar, if we're going to call that Doyle hitting the bar, because it was just an overhit cross. But we can count it. There's worse things that can happen than if that had gone in. But the best chance of the half, I actually thought, fell to them, which was a bit of a shock because they didn't create very much at all. But Egan puts in an absolutely fantastic block. So it's about 20 minutes in. They were coming through on the break. They get down the wing and pull it back to just behind the penalty spot. And Chong is free. He's got all the time in the world. He takes a touch, lines up to shoot, and it does look a goal. And Egan makes a fantastic block. He slides in across him, and it really was brilliant. And I think, while that's great to see, and I want to see committed defending, I want us to be doing that. I think for that to have probably been my overarching memory of the best chance of the first half, I'd like to see a little bit more than us. I think for us coming back from the international break, we really wanted to be on the front foot. We really needed a quick start against a team who are going to try and frustrate us. And, you know, I think it worked today. I think it particularly worked in that first half. But as we came into the second half, I then was looking for United to get on it. I thought we might try and push forward. I thought, heck, you'd get into them at half time. I thought we'd come out firing. But I actually thought first sort of 10, 15 minutes of that second half, Birmingham came out strong. Thought they'd started really, really well. And it all came from this weird situation in the middle where Bielik and McBurney were fighting with each other. There were a bit of handbags at dawn. It was nothing. It really was absolutely nothing. It was that typical football. Oh, look at us. We're going to have a bit of a fight. But you're not. You're just sort of handbags. But it was weird the way that came about. But it seemed to really annoy United. And it felt as though for sort of 5-10 minutes after that, we couldn't get ourselves sort of composed enough to get back in the game. They were then starting to pump the ball in the box. And I thought Deeney at this point was really starting to stand out. He was winning all of the first contact. He looked so strong in controlling it and bringing it down. I thought he had a really good game. First half, he wasn't in it that much. Second half, he really came into his own. Just after that booking I was talking about, Birmingham had a free kick. They pumped it in the box, and he again, first contact, but it rolls through to Wes, fortunately, because Hogan's trying to get on the end of it. They had same again later on. They're leading a break all through Deeney. He holds it up so well, lets them get a man over. Ball comes into the box, and again, it ends up just bobbling through to Wes. But they were really just starting to show signs. They'd not had anything first half, but they just started to show signs and really started to try and come into the game. And that's when United really needed to make a change. And we did. We went straight away. Hecky had recognised that things weren't quite working for us. It wasn't going our way. And we made two subs. We took Kadra off to put Bogle on. We let Bogle take on that left-sided role. And then we took Doyle off for Brewster. So I was not sure what formation we were going to play at this point. Didn't know if that was triggering a little bit of a change. But we had no time to find out because United scored almost immediately after the subs. We had a free kick just over to the right, whipped into the box. And to be honest, I'm sat there going, oh, God, what a terrible ball in that is. And I'm thinking, what is that? We've got to do better. And then McBurney absolutely fires in a beauty. It is a fantastic strike. The ball's just bouncing to nowhere. He's got to take it on the turn, and it is a fantastic effort. Just catches it so well. I mean, that is a man who is on such good form. And somebody was messaging me on Twitter the other day. They said, what do we think about McBurney as a shout for top scorer? And I thought, 6 weeks ago, I'd have laughed at you. You'd have been insane. But this is a completely different man. Today is one of them games where he wasn't in it very much. We couldn't get him involved in play. We couldn't play in a way that he wanted to. And yet when the chance came, it's barely even a chance. And he has scored a fantastic goal. It was brilliant. And it just shows what difference a bit of confidence and a good and a goal, really. He got that one goal against Luton and he's not looked back since. So that's fantastic to see. And I thought it was a brilliant goal. I just really thought it was fantastic. That then triggered them to do an immediate sub where they brought on Hannibal on loan from Man United. They brought him on for Bakuna, who I don't think had really been in the game very much, hadn't looked too dangerous to that point. And then I've not got any more notes really on what happened between that. And then we do a sub. McBurney goes off. Billy Sharp comes on. At the time, we were questioning this. So I was sat with my dad. My dad says to me, we look small. We do look small without McBurney on. And we assume that's got to be we're trying to keep him fit. We've got another game coming. We've really got to try and make sure that we don't get any more injuries because we can't afford any more injuries. So maybe that's just managing the squad. He's trying to make sure that McBurney is fit. He's trying to make sure that we can keep him going for our game on Tuesday night. But it did seem to make a difference. And then 1 minute later, they've got a corner. It's whipped in the box and we can't quite clear it properly. You know, we've got first contact, we've got it away, but we've allowed them to recycle the ball. It then gets whipped in and Dine is completely unmarked. Centre of our 6-yard box. He's got all the time in the world. Takes a touch and just batters it into the back of the net. Now I'm sat there and I'm thinking this has got to be offside because how you can have that much time and space in the centre of the box, that close to goal, I genuinely don't know. I'm sat there and I'm thinking, no, come on, linesman, get your flag up. You've got to. But I've watched it back and I think there is a little touch in the box. I think it comes off a United head. Don't think he is offside. I think it's just bad defending. I think we really need to make sure that we're not making that kind of mistake and that we can keep it out. But we've been brilliant at Bramall Lane for defending. We don't concede many goals. We've got a really disrupted back line. There are going to be mistakes and there are probably going to be some silly goals that we concede. And so we've got to accept that. Not everything's always going to go right, but it was a particularly frustrating goal to concede. It was one of them where I'm in my seat and I'm thinking, either defending, the offside, something. But there was nothing to save us. And so unfortunately, that's 1-1. And then that's when they started to kill the game. Thought from this point onwards, it was really disrupted. I think we struggled to get any rhythm, to really try and create momentum, to try and create those chances. I think they were good at going down and staying down. There was one, I think it's about 75 minutes there on a break. Norwood does go in, quite cynically, tries to foul Chong. Completely respect that. It's probably a foul. But then Chong tries to play on, takes about 3 more steps and goes down like he got shot. Absolutely looked like he got shot. I don't know what happened to him, but he was on the ground for about 4 minutes. And then went off, had a little bit of treatment, came back on like he was fine. Now, I think I'm probably doing him a disservice. I think eventually he was subbed only a few minutes later. But that just the first moment of quite a few where I'm getting really fed up of seeing people down injured. And that was the one where I most thought, I'm not sure why he's down. But hopefully he isn't injured. You know, I still don't want him to be injured and I hope he's all right if he did go off due to the injury. But if he wasn't injured, get up and play on because I don't want to see you down for 3 minutes. As we got towards the end of the game then, sort of last 5 minutes, United were putting on a little bit more pressure. Birmingham took off Dine, which I think meant they couldn't hold the ball up. They weren't having any kind of joy on the break after that point. I think that did make a big difference. And that meant we could start just trying to create something. And we did. We created a hell of a chance for Billy Sharp. There's nobody else you would want on the end of it. Sander Berger does fantastically, plays a lovely through ball in. Billy's then running in one-on-one, and he just takes a little bit too long. He's trying to shift it onto his right foot, and he takes too long, can't make the switch, ends up hitting it left-footed. And Ruddy does make a good save, you know, he handles it well, but it's straight at him. And that felt like a huge moment. If that goes in, we're up, we're celebrating. It's a last-minute winner, and it's a fantastic win for United today. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. He's not been able to take that chance. And we've come away with a 1-1. And ultimately, I think that's fair. I think 1-1 was the right result. I think Birmingham came and did enough today to say they deserve that. I thought they defended really well. I think on the break, they looked strong. They looked like they could really cause us problems. I said it last season when we played him, and I'll say it again this season. Chong, as much as I complained at him, whether he was injured, etc., had a fantastic game. I think he's a really good player for them. I think the way he drives them forward, I think he's fast. I think he's skillful. So annoying, but probably the right result in the end, as much as we wanted a little bit more from the lads. So about our team, I thought overall there wasn't really anybody who stood out to me. I thought McBurney's took his goal really well. Norwood was finding some time and space. He was able to try and control that midfield, but it wasn't one of our best games today. I don't think it was one where we really stood up and said, yes, we're top of the league. We're going to dominate you at home. But it happens after the international break. And this is something that I don't want to focus on, and I don't want it to be the narrative, but I've seen the sort of comment coming in the chat. I've seen 2 or 3 of them popping up. And you're right, it does seem to be something that happens to United, that we go away, we go on international break, and that first game back can be a little bit sloppy. You know, we've lost a lot of players over the last couple of weeks away to international duty. We've also got all those injuries. We have to expect that there are going to be some performances that feel disjointed, that we're not quite in our rhythm that we have a lot of the time. And I think as well, given that we've won 3 away games on the spin, there are going to be some performances at home where we have to accept a point and we have to say, you know what, we weren't at our best today, but we haven't got beaten. We're still top of the league and things are still looking good for Sheffield United. That's the main takeaway today. And James, you give me a perfect opportunity to plug our prediction show. So myself and Nick do a prediction show before every game. We're talking about predicting every result in the championship. And as James said, he predicted 1-1. And I think he knew what was coming today. A little bit leggy, not quite at our best, and just needing a little bit more for us to stand out. So I'm just going to come into the comments now and just see what we've got there, trying to see whether or not you're agreeing with me, whether you're disagreeing. Richard thinks we played rubbish today, and I don't necessarily disagree. It definitely wasn't a good performance from United. We weren't at our best. But like I say, I think there are overarching circumstances for why that was the case, why that happened to us. And I think, you know, I expect us to be better on Tuesday. I think we'll have a little bit more rhythm. I think we'll probably see a slightly different team. Bogle coming back, is he fit enough to start a game? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. The last thing we would want is to play him and for him to get injured. But if there is a chance for him to start, I would like to see it. I think it'd give us a little bit more balance if he can play the left side with Baldock on the right side. I think we'd just be a little bit more fluid through that position. So I just don't think it's the right opportunity for Khadra. And I think, to be honest, his impact as a sub, when his pace is going at tired defenders, that's what we need to be taking advantage of. And that might be the best role for him in the next few weeks. If we can get him in his right position, running at defenders, running at tired defenders, he can be a real difference maker. You can see John, one of the Birmingham fans, coming in there. He says that it was a fair result. I think he agrees that we could play better and we've scored a nice goal. But he's right as well about the pace. That's a really key point. We don't have stacks and stacks of pace, especially not when Khadra's being held a little bit further back. I think he's really got to be played further forward for us to take advantage of what he's got. And maybe we can cause teams a lot more trouble like that. But I do agree. I think a point is the right result. Birmingham, I thought, came today and did a job, and I think they did that job very well. Can see Michael disappointed with the results, doesn't think that Birmingham are a good side. I think predictions-wise, I would agree. I've had them as a sort of relegation struggling team, but I think looking at their team on paper, they've got a lot of good players. If they can get Deeney playing really well, I think he'll make a difference. And I actually thought they were more than good value today, even if we were quite poor. So I've gone through some of the comments. I think I picked out the key ones there. Thank you very much for joining me. Myself and Nick will be back with a Champions predictions video tomorrow, and then we will have the preview ahead of the QPR game on Monday night. Annoying day at the office, but we do go again. We are still top of the league, and there are plenty of things to be positive about. Up the Blades. See you later.